Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to call the meeting to order, so if you'll please take your seats and so we can start. Okay, good evening. We're having our first open board meeting for this year. We wanted to wait till everybody was back from Florida and from wherever you are to have an open board meeting. The first thing we do usually is we call the meeting to order, in which we're going to do at 7:08. We take our roll call. Today we have from Condo 1, Ron Sosnick. From Condo 2, Howie Rosen. From Condo 3, Larry Ferranzani. From Condo 4, Howie Siegel. From Condo 5, we have Hank McMahon, who's sitting in for Rick Schwartz. From Condo 6, we have Ernie Sapulo. And from Condo 7, we have Roger Foley. What we do, we ask each member, we have our board members. We have Lee Auster, we have Frida Leibowitz, Alan Capel, myself, Henry Cernitz, Lenny Roper, Brian Rappaport, and Arnie Scheer. We all waive notice of the meeting. Okay, our first thing we do is our report of the corresponding secretary. Lee? Use the mic. There's a mic over there that we'll pass around.
There's no new correspondence.
Okay. Second thing we do is we approve the minutes of the prior meeting. And I ask, I have a second? All in favor? Okay. As far as the report of the president, I have been in contact with the attorneys for the sanitation department, and we will have a letter from them by Friday telling us most likely that they cannot pick up our garbage, at which point we will then consult with our attorneys as to how to handle the issue of the tax refund since we're not getting the service, and since Mr. Dove never made any written commitments. It was basically a handshake, so that we can get our tax money back starting on May 11, 2017. We have been working with our bylaw and covenant revision committee to review our bylaws. We have a final draft, we're working on a final draft, which we will present to the community within the next month or so for a vote. There are some minor changes, there are some major changes. A lot of the changes have to do with striking out the word sponsor, since they're not here anymore, and to codify our election procedure. That's all I have right now. We're going to go to the report of the treasurer.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. This is the first month of the new fiscal year. So my treasurer's report this month is inclusive of the whole year from June 1st of 17 to May 31st of 18. This is not the financial report of the auditors. This is strictly a cash basis report, how much money we got in, how much money we spent, and how much we put away in the reserve funds, et cetera, et cetera. Taking a look at the operating accounts, because they're the ones that are most important for tonight. Our operating accounts, the cash balances increased from the beginning of the year to the end of the year by $126,178.70. Half of that is going to go into the reserve fund. Now, if you remember when I presented the reserve fund, I said there are other sources of revenue going into the reserve fund which will help to defray some of the maintenance charges that we have to pay. So this is your first glance at what that might be. So $63,000 for this year will be transferred over. At the end of this fiscal year, when the budget committee meets again, we will have that in the kitty so we can adjust, if we have to, slightly our monthly contributions. So this is part of the overall plan, and this will continue this way for the next 4 or 5 years. We know the number we have to be at after 5 years, and if we get an injection of additional monies when we finish with transition, whenever that might be, we never know, then that will help to defray some of the costs that we have to lay out of our pockets. Other than that, we have 2 arrearages, which is pretty good for us. Only 2 people are behind. We still have that 1 unit that's in foreclosure. They keep on telling us every month it's going to come out of foreclosure, but we're not going to see any money from that. And I think that's it. I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has when the question period is on.
And we will have a question and answer period at the end of the meeting. We are only going to ask that you come up to the front. We are being streamed. We have at least 60 people watching right now. So we'd ask that you can be on the camera so they can see you. And please identify yourself. Our committee reports. Security, Lenny?
I ran a security meeting June 2nd. A couple of items we discussed was proper security uniform in the guardhouse. We had to let one guard go. He was dismissed. Frequent uniform violations, and also had been reporting late for duty. So this one particular guy is gone. He worked at midnight to 8 in the morning. He's been replaced. Providing directional maps for the visitor pass. We had some delivery trucks that were entering our community. Let's say it was a Sleepy's truck. Knew where he was going, so he says, but then when he gets into our community, he gets lost, just the way many of our own guests do. So we've instructed all of the guards now, have been instructed that they need to give a visitor pass to each and every truck that comes into the community. Another item we discussed was the vehicle speed and stop sign infractions. Certain delivery drivers, FedEx was the worst violator. As we know, we have Henry from UPS, who's a sweetheart, a great guy, drives well. FedEx happens to be the worst violator. So I believe Bernadette, in the next couple of days, will be reaching out to very high-level supervisors in FedEx and informing them of our regulations, reminding them of what they are. And we also touched on moving and parking violations. The committee discussed the different type of violations that our roving security patrol issues. When it comes to moving violations, they issue stop signs, of course. And when it's parking violations, pretty much they are for improper parking, restricted area parking, and no visitors pass. That's it.
Thank you. Larry Silva, on the fitness committee, you gave a big report. You want me to read it? Okay. No. Yeah. Well, let's just hit some of the highlights if we can. Yeah, where is it? It's not here. Second page?
Follows the minutes.
There it is. Okay, I got it. Okay, Larry, the fitness committee met on May 15th, 2018. There's a notation that Tai Chi went well. The ballroom dancing classes were undersubscribed, and therefore they were never introduced due to lack of interest. There's a health fair that was discussed with Caitlin, our activities director, and she's taken an active role in planning the event. The event will be either on September 23rd or the 30th from 10 to 3 or 2 in the ballroom. Cameras in the gym. We have cameras, but they don't seem to be monitored, so we will check that out. There was an issue about a particular vibrating machine, Larry, was that it? A balanced vibration machine, but it was recommended not to get it. If it's not correct for our people on our age group, okay. It's for older people. Jack Foley on the committee discussed the need to provide a better system to store the multitude of weights that are used in the exercise classes and the shortage of certain weights. Okay. Oh, it's been done now? Okay, terrific. All right, those are the highlights of the weights are still walking out? No.
These are special weights. They have feet. So when you put them back, they walk out, and we have to replace them.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep the weights in the gym, please, people. We now have volunteers for our sign revision task force. We are going to appoint Merrill Leviton, Joyce Baggio, and Ronnie Erdos to review the signs that are placed throughout the community. And if they feel there's need for any change, they'll recommend it to the board, and we will act on it. Okay, let's get to our business. Oh, I'm sorry, Lee, landscaping.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the entire board, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our residents at Meadowbrook Pointe for their continued patience and understanding during the transition period from our previous landscape contractor to Lawn Elements. Even though Mother Nature was not kind to us with a prolonged winter and a cold start to spring, it is quite evident as one looks at our community that the beautification process has commenced. Please note that this process is one of evolution. In regards to dead trees, tree roots issues, dead shrubs and bushes, Lawn Elements has surveyed the entire property. Their findings have been documented by pictures and accompanied by a price list will be submitted to the board within the next 2 weeks for review. Any of the residents who have sent emails, phone calls, work tickets related to these issues will be included in the review. Just as a heads up what's going to be taking place in the next couple of weeks, Lawn Elements will continue their weekly maintenance. The trimming of the trees, bushes, and shrubs, which you can tell has started Harness Way, our perimeter, and the clubhouse. Will be finished with this project. That is Lawn Elements will be done by July 4th. Within the next 2 weeks, another application for weed spraying will take place. Last but not certainly least, during the week of the 25th, Lawn Elements will do a walkthrough of the flowers that have been planted with Bernadette, Matt, and myself to see if anything needs to be supplemented. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to new business. Dave, is our new alarm system all in? Do we know?
All of the villa buildings and suite buildings have been converted from the Verizon phone lines to a cellular type of dialing system for the phones, for the alarm systems. Therefore, we're not dependent on the copper wires any longer for the alarm systems. We're in the process of doing away with the copper lines for the elevators. I think Jerry, we're doing that in-house. Jerry has accomplished around 15 buildings to date and is working on them as possible. Those lines are being also replaced with a cellular dialer that we located, and there's some significant savings that are associated with that work.
Okay, thank you. Next, moving on, we have the charter for the Next Chapter Club that we're going to vote on. I'm going to read it for the board and for the residents. Charter for the Meadowbrook Pointe Next Chapter Club. There will be a group of Meadowbrook Pointe residents of at least 5 to 7 members that will include widows, widowers, divorcees, and singles. Stu Levinson will be the chair with Meadowbrook Pointe residents with different responsibilities, such as treasurer, project managers for outings, speakers, and social events. Members will to be discussed at meetings for individual projects. The chairman must give 28 days notice of leaving the club or stepping down. There will be terms of 1 year for all members. The club will have a slogan, quote, "Don't give up, life is just starting," close quote. The first meeting will be to be determined. We'll ask for volunteers for organization, treasurer, project managers, and social activities. Meetings will be at least once a quarter, or whatever the committee agrees on. Club will have speakers, events like movie parties, dances, museums, trivia nights, dinners. Each member will have an equal say with a majority vote. They will work in conjunction with the social director. They will have meet and greets, and then they have speed dating with 3 question marks. People who have suffered some loss will benefit from this club by making friends and remembering. So I'm going to ask the board for a motion to accept the charter of the Meadowbrook Pointe Next Chapter Club. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Brian, you want to talk about the 4th of July?
Yeah. The 4th of July barbecue. If you know in the past, when we had another property manager here, the 4th of July barbecue was never on the 4th of July. This year it's going to be on the 4th of July. And we'd like to start a new tradition. The HOA would like to sponsor, which we always pay for the DJ, the actual food that is given out or sold, that's normally sold at the barbecue. So this year, we'd like to give that out to the guests and residents. Now, we know that a lot of people like to have family on the 4th of July. So they are going to be allowed to bring guests in at the normal guest rate of $15 a person for holidays, adults, and $7 for children. We don't anticipate a large amount of guests at that rate, but we've always had guests allowed on the 4th of July. The difference is the party will be on the 4th of July, and the food will be free to anybody there. Not drinks, just the food at the barbecue. The limit on guests to four guests to every family. So you can't have more than that, and there'll be, of course, a limit on the amount of food that you 2 hot dogs and 2 frankfurters per individual. So I move that the HOA supply the.
How about, I'm going to take a motion for the 4th of July to be sponsored by the HOA. Guests will pay the regular fee to get into the 4th of July party. The food distribution will be determined as to how many hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken, etc. that we give to the residents and their guests. Drinks will, alcohol, definitely. Alcohol will be a cash bar as usual. Okay, and sodas too. Do I have a second? All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to some unfortunate things. Oh, by the way, as you know, we've had a problem with the barcoding on the gates. If you still can't get in, please make sure you give a notification to the clubhouse and the concierge, and they will try to fix your barcode number so that it goes through. The older barcodes probably work. If you've had a new car within the last year or so, you're going to have a problem. So please, as soon as you know and you can't get in, let Bernadette or Matt or the concierge know so we can fix that right away. Yeah, you have to provide, on your barcode there's a little 4 or 5 digit number, and that you have to give that to the staff here. Let's move on. Gentlemen on the board, you've seen the packet and you've seen the estimate for the compressors in the older buildings, building Condo 1. It's on page, yeah, I think we're going to make a motion to table that if somebody, because price is very high. That would be like $9,000 for a compressor. Well, it's $7,000 plus $2,000 for electrician. So I'm going to table that for now and try to think of another solution. The problem is in noise and the compressor in the basement of the suites in some of the buildings is underneath a person's particular unit, and the noise is disturbing them. So we're trying to think of a different way to do it because it's $9,000 to fix for each one. So we tried a soundproof box, it doesn't work. Yeah. So all right, gatehouse notifications, Lenny. Okay, well that we took care of in the security report. As to garage leaks, we are trying to get them done. We are doing them in the order of importance. Major leaks are getting taken care of first. We have our company, AM Shield, coming in and taking care of them. Leaks that are not as bad are getting pushed back a little bit, but they all will get done. We have the money to do it. We will get it done. Suite parking spots. Just a reminder on the suite parking spots, if there's an empty spot in your building, just remember somebody owns that spot. Okay, so please don't give it away without their consent. All right. Arnie, can you talk about the driveway issue for,
Brian and I were at, after the last meeting that was public, the one on the budget. Brian and I, after the last meeting on the budget, started something new, which is the ability for people to come and speak to us, and we're going to do that monthly, speak to people on the board, and the people will vary. One of the residents came up and gave us a problem that they've had, and I'm sure many other people have also had, and that problem is particular to suite owners. If you're having some work done and it requires sawing or cutting or drilling, the work is done either on your balcony or in your apartment, and it's certainly very dusty. If it were done in the garage, it would likewise pass dust on to other cars. Townhouse owners and villa owners don't have that problem because they have private garages. So one of the recommendations that we have is to allow the suite owners work with the property manager to allow the people doing this work to work outside, either in the driveway area or on the common area or in a parking lot, away from other cars, and be able to clean up afterwards, make sure they have the right insurance to do it, and various other things, and schedule it when that particular area is not being used. So I'd like to place on the floor a motion to allow that to occur and allow the property manager to make the rules.
Speak on a motion?
We seconded. Now you can speak.
no, you want to speak on
No, you speak on it first.
No, you seconded
You
first.
second it, has to be seconded first.
I seconded, yeah. Now you can speak.
All right, now you can speak.
I had a slight difference of opinion on this, not insofar as doing it, but insofar as where we're going to do it. And the problem is doing it in the driveway. And the reasons for that are, as we all know, many of us live in suite buildings, right? 37 buildings, 15 units per, and some buildings have 18. So that would be 15 and 15, 30 units. You could, every day you'll have somebody or 2 or 3 people doing work in the bottom of the driveway area. Now, that causes some problems because you have Westbury Carting coming here on Tuesdays and Thursdays picking up the garbage. On Wednesdays, you have recycling. It'll be a problem for the recycling truck also. And other things weren't thought about, but I think about them. And for instance, Poland Spring truck comes in all the time and backs in because they got the heavy jugs of water, and what do? They pull in where anybody would pull in who was having a delivery of a TV or whatever, and the Poland Spring truck is there. Fresh Direct backs their trucks up in there. So no problem doing what we're saying, but I think we got to come up with a better location. I don't think we want to have nails, screws, and glass at the bottom of our driveway. That's not going to be properly cleaned up, even though we're saying, according to what Arnie's saying, we're going to ask them and we're going to follow up. But you know what? There's going to be glass, splinters of wood at the bottom of our driveway. So we have to think about it just a little further. Yes? Well, that's another, I mean, I could go on, but I just want to throw out to you things that I thought about that other people have not thought about. And that's the last point. Listen, anybody here who lives in a suite building, who overlooks the driveway, like I do, and that's not the reason why I'm complaining, but there are many, many people who share overlooking the driveway, and you're going to be constantly hearing sawing, tiles being cut up for a backsplash. I don't think you're going to like that, and I don't think you need to put up with that. When there are little jobs to do, such as a backsplash, you do it like we've always done it for 11 years. You do it on your balcony. And when there's a big job to do, well, there's other ways to get it done. It gets done with a wink, and it gets done. All right? So I think we need to discuss this a little further.
Okay, all right, we're going to table this, okay? Oh.
Add to Lenny, there's traffic going in and out of the building from people, coming into the building. I think it's a good idea that we look for another area.
Okay, we're going to table this vote. We have 2 contracts we have to work on, board. The first one is for our elevator services. We have a proposal from Island Elevator, and we have a proposal from Schindler Elevator. Our current contractor is Schindler. They actually have, I think they make the elevator. they manufacture the elevator. And Island Elevator has been here for years, I think, in doing some of the villas. We have two prices. We have a price of $9,500 a month and this is for the suite elevators, for all 36 of them, plus the clubhouse, okay? So they're charging us $9,500 a month for the year of 2018 to 2019. Goes up to $98.80 from June 1st of 2019 to 2020. And then the third year is $10,275. Schindler, however, is charging us $76.50 a month, okay? And how many years is this contract for? For 1 year. No, it's multiple years. It's from 2018 until 2023. 5 years, but there's an annual increase of 3% for any 1 year period, up to 1 year, 3%. Yeah, yeah. Well, labor works extra on the other one too. Yeah, yeah.
There's also a very big difference between the labor charges, both companies, with Schindler being much higher than Island. So it's a question of how much labor do we normally use on the elevators per year, and we have to figure that out to see which one is actually the least expensive.
Henry, just like to point out to everyone that Schindler installed these elevators. Right. They're their parts, and they've maintained them from day one.
Yeah.
The difference, by the way, the mechanics on Island are $179 an hour. Right. On Schindler, they're $322 an hour.
And the team on Island is $279, and Schindler, they're all individual.
Yeah, you have a repair team of $279 an hour for Island.
The question is, you know, aside from the increase in price, the service that we've gotten from Schindler, how does that rank? Bern? Outstanding?
We'll probably stay with them, but we have to review it.
Yeah. All right, we're going to review this to check to see how it costs out over the long run.
How much repairs do we have during the year, for argument's sake, on the elevators? How many calls, you know?
Once a month, sometimes twice a month.
All right, so it's nominal. Okay.
The number's significant. Actually, what happens is they're after-hour calls, and they bang us for overtime all the time. So I'll accumulate 6 or 8 of the calls, and then I'll get them to write off 3 or 4 of the calls. So we never actually end up paying them what their going rate is.
You're the best.
Okay. Well, all right. Do we want to? No,
we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about that. Next thing we have are the painting, 2 contracts proposals for the painting of the villa doors, villa and townhouse doors. We have 2 proposals. The first one is from KM Painting. Their total for the doors is $26,375, and the total from Parsons Painting is $28,715. The only difference I see between the 2 is that KM gives a preparation of chalk the exterior door frames, and Parsons they will silicone and chalk around the exterior door frames. Caulk. No, it says chalk. I guess they meant, both of them wrote chalk, by the way. Both of them wrote chalk.
Must be something we don't know.
Must be something. Dave, do you know what the difference is between chalk and caulk?
Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
Oh, go ahead.
I took the Parsons proposal, took
Use the mic, please, David. David, use the mic.
that as the spec for the,
Oh.
and they just cut and paste.
Okay, so it's caulk. All right, it's caulk. All right, so it's caulk. So they're both almost exactly the same insofar as they're using Benjamin Moore black. Okay, and it's just a matter of price. Yeah, well, Parsons has worked here before. K&M, where do we get them from?
K&M has done other work for me. most recently painted the entire Hamlet East, which is 162 units, not only the doors, but the siding and all of that. They did that last year, and they have phenomenal reference from that community on the work they did.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Talk.
From our experience of painting our suite buildings,
I don't think the mic is on, right?
from the experience we had recently with painting our suite buildings, Parsons did a terrible job. I think some head shaking here. I've worked closely with all my building captains, and everybody had to constantly go around finding spots to be done. The caulking was never done. Just terrible work. I wouldn't bring them back.
Roger beat me to the punch.
Well then, let's go K&M. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, you'll arrange for K&M start? Okay.
Yep.
All right, do we have any other new business or old business before we open the floor to the residents? Yes? No? No? That's it? All right, we're going to open the floor to the residents. We ask that you come up to the front. Where's the camera? Out there? The camera is up on the wall there. Please give your name, your building, and ask the question so that everybody can hear it. Thank you.
My voice is loud enough. They won't be able to hear it on the. You'll hear it. No. It's the people on the camera. You're on TV.
My name is Martin Semmel. I moved into this community in September of 2016, and I have an issue that affects every single person in this room. And you're saying, how is that possible? First, you need to know that I'm not a crazy person. I'm senior corporate and real estate counsel to the largest firm in Suffolk County. Former chairman of the board, first vice president of Congregation Sons of Israel in Woodmere, Brian's congregation. And yes, this does affect every single member of the community. It has come to my attention through one of my neighbors that Building 11, Villa Building 11, is paying less than 1/2 of the real estate taxes of any other building in this entire community. Unit by unit, they are paying less than 1/2 of the real estate taxes of any other villa building here. Anybody can go online and you can check it. You can compare your villa number to any of the villa numbers in Building 11. I said to the gentleman that advised me of this, that's not possible.
It is.
He said, I said, it has to have been in the offering circular. This was an original building. They may have enticed everybody to come in here. No, but if you check your offerings circulars, no, it wasn't that. And yet, it is. It exists. We, everybody else that's not in Building 11, are paying the taxes proportionately for Building 11. We're paying the school taxes, Town of Hempstead taxes. It's costing our school district, over the period of 11 years, we're talking about $800 to $850 to over $1 million. Now that's not petty change. And yet, we can't do anything about assessments. This board has no ability to change assessments, but the assessments exist. Anybody in this room, go online to the Town of Hempstead, you will see exactly what I'm saying is true. We all know about it. Well, if you know about it, why don't you do something
Well,
about it?
I'm going to tell you what the answer is.
The chairman of this board should call the county executive, call the county executive of the Town of Hempstead, and raise the issue. They're losing money. We're paying for that building, and that's not fair. It's inequitable. Something has to be done. And if this board doesn't do it, I don't know, it's not fair. You have an obligation. Pick up the phone and call.
Can I talk?
Now it's your turn.
Thank you. We are well aware of the issue. And their assessments are changing this year. And the new assessments come out, they're going to be equal to us.
Do you know?
Yes.
How do you know?
We are told by our attorney. And our legislators.
Well, your attorney knows about this issue because it was raised by us, and he says it's not his job. His job is to lower assessments, not to raise them. So I wouldn't say...
Wait. You're missing the point.
Oh,
Which attorney are you talking about?
the tax attorney.
That's not the attorney's.
Okay. So something's going to happen.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We know about it. We've been pissed off about it for years.
We first noticed the inequity a while ago.
We had the town tax people down here, okay, and before you moved in. They were here, they explained to us, they screwed up, and they can't do anything until the next assessment comes, which is coming, okay, in 2019.
You think they screwed up?
Oh, we know they screwed up.
I think there's another issue.
No.
But I don't want to discuss it.
No. They said they screwed up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sure, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Mimi Sherman. We've been talking about this for many years. I'm one of the first people that moved here, and it's been to no avail. We had people here from Nassau County, and they promised us the moon, and nothing has been done. And I contacted the tax people, and I live in a building, and I have a small apartment. And he says to me, "You have a house." So I said, "No." In other words, we who live in buildings are listed as a house rather than an apartment, and that's why we're paying this kind of taxes. Because when you speak to someone who lives in Westbury and they live in a house, they're paying what we're paying, and sometimes less. So there has been something, they have been, I hate to say this, when the deals were made, and I really feel that we have been screwed. And I think that it's time that we did something about it. And we say this every year and nothing has been done. Nothing. And I don't think and it was supposed to be assessed years ago. It never was assessed, or if it was assessed, nothing has happened. And one time they said, "Oh, we got a reduction." Yes, the reduction was $100. Then they said, "Oh, we have a reduction, but they can't pay us because Nassau doesn't have any money." Well, you know, if you read the papers, what happens to the money, they're putting it in their own pockets. So what do? We're fools, actually, because we're allowing this to happen. And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Well said. The only thing I will tell you is that all condo units in Nassau County are considered to be Class 1 properties, which is individual homes. I lived in Lawrence for a lot of years. I pay more taxes now than my current house in Lawrence is worth. We understand that, but that's the way the county does it. In other words, if you take one building, 15 apartments, they treat that as 15 single homes. I'm not arguing with you, I'm just explaining it, and everybody has the same thing. Okay? Come on, John.
But why do they do that?
Because they can.
Hi, my name is John Messina. I live in Building 17. I've lived here since 2011. Henry mentioned the issue at the beginning with regards to garbage collection. I don't know how many are aware of the situation, but each one of us pays between $1,000 to $1,500 a year for trash collection that hasn't been collected. If there's like 700 families here, you're talking about $700,000 a year that's been going to the town of Hempstead for a service that they haven't provided. This problem has existed since 2006. What I recommend to everyone, and I've done it, is that when you pay your next real estate taxes, put a little phrase or a little posted on your real estate taxes that you're paying them under protest for a service they're not providing. I think the next step is, depending on what that letter comes back from the town of Hempstead, is to take some legal action. When you look at it, going back to 2006, you're talking about $8 million that has been paid to the town of Hempstead for a service that no one has gotten. And I'm surprised that this tragedy, as I call it, has gone for so long without any action. And that's it.
Just so you know, when we started this process, John started it back in January, I think, of 2017. We actually sent our demand letter in May of 2017. The way the state law and the way the courts have set it up is that your taxes go back to the day that you first demanded it. So if we get this done, we will have refunds from May 11th, 2017 for everybody here. John probably from January. But we're waiting for the letter, and we know it would be a great benefit to all of us because, you know, we just got hit with the school bond thing, and and we just got hit with the Republican tax law, where we can't, you know, deduct everything that we pay. So we're gonna you know, really go into this, and if we have to use some funds to hire an attorney to handle this, we will. If the town refuses it, we'll file an Article 78 proceeding to get them to reduce our taxes. We will go all the way with it because it's something that we should not be paying. However, when we moved in here, for the people who are not original owners, we all had the book. The book said that we had a special risk, and the special risk was you're not going to get garbage service and you're going to pay the taxes. We didn't know at the time that this was basically a handshake with Dub and the town. There was nothing ever done in writing, and that's why we're going to press this. We're not getting the service, we shouldn't be paying the taxes. So, next up.
My name is Carol Uffer, and I've lived here in another month for 11 years. The board okayed a charter for a new club that's basically a singles club. I don't know if the board was aware, but we have a singles club for 11 years. And before we were pushed aside, I think that should have been researched. I notified the person who wanted to do this, and he pushed me aside. So I think before you start a new club, why don't we see if we can get together? We had a charter, we had meetings, we had a lot of events. A lot of the people here belong to it, and I think that should have been done before you okayed it.
We were told that it was dissolved.
Never dissolved. Never dissolved.
I didn't say dissolved. I just said.
I thought you said dissolved.
No, it just died out.
No, not really. It stopped functioning for a while because of illness, but basically it was always there.
Thank you. My name is Marvin Bloom, live in Building 7. First, I'd like to thank all the board members and building managers for the great job you guys are doing. I know the type of situations you get into since I'm on my board in Florida. But I have just a little suggestion. I'm a big gym user, and quite often there's a couple of types of machines that have a backup people waiting. I suggest that maybe you put in a chalkboard where people can come in, and if there's 3 people on the elliptical, you can put your name down and say, I'm next. Several times, there's 1, 2, 3 people waiting for either the treadmills, the arc trainer, and the ellipticals, and sometimes there's conflict when you want to get onto one of the machines. Just a little board that someone can put their names down, elliptical, arc trainer, bikes, whatever. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Hyman, and I've lived here since 2014. And my question today is regarding garage door repair. I've noticed in the community that there are days where some garage doors are left open 3 and 4 days, and other buildings 2 days. And one of the reasons for this, and I don't know if everybody's aware of it, is that while we have a vendor, and I've spoken to him, he's a very talented guy, certainly very nice, he's just one person. He has his own truck, he's one person, he services this entire community of 37 buildings. So when he's in Connecticut or he's in New Jersey and a garage door breaks down, we have to wait. And to me, this poses some challenges. And one of the challenges that it poses, one, is security. Now, while I've been told, and I appreciate, the information, that the security then for those buildings, it circles the buildings for every 20 minutes, I don't see the security going into the garages. And even if they did, I don't really think that that really solves the problem of security, especially when you have garage doors that are open 3 and 4 days at a time, because we can't get the service that we need. I believe that for a community such as this, we have several options. One, the vendor told me, in a conversation that I had with him when he was in the process of repairing Building 3 where I live, he said that he houses his parts supplies in Building 51. Well, that's great, because we have supplies right here in Meadowbrook. But if that's the case, then one option would be, when he's not available, that maybe we train some Meadowbrook Pointe workers here to repair some of the doors that have simple problems such as springs. That's one option. Another option is to have this vendor and possibly have a secondary vendor who could provide, emergency service, to the community. And I guess the third option would be to totally get a new vendor who has all the services that we would need here. So I guess my question to the board is, what are your thoughts on this, and have you addressed this issue at all? And, I would just like some feedback from you on this problem.
Our garage door vendor is notified as soon as we find out when the garage door is out of service, depending on what the issue is. Jerry can sometimes fix the problem same day. Otherwise, if it's a broken spring, Matthew has to do the repair. He's usually here within 24 hours of the call. It's never been 3 or 4 days. I'm not sure where you're getting that information, but if a garage door breaks on more than one occasion, which sometimes it does happen, some people bang into it, some people run over the sensors. There's many different things that happen. Certain things can be repaired by our maintenance crew, but certain things have to be repaired by Matthew. And we try to get him in within a 24-hour period.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. I certainly respect the information. But I've been told that when I call, that he's in New Jersey, he's in Connecticut, he can't get here. So typically he's not here within 24 hours. The other question I have is this the same vendor that also services our lifts in the suite building lobbies?
No.
Or is it totally another vendor?
No, he only does the garage doors.
He just does
only the garage doors.
Okay.
The reason Matt Fetter, that's the gentleman's name, was brought in is because the type of motors that we're using here are a computerized motor that are very quiet. That's why we don't have complaints of noise that we used to have. And these motors are manufactured in England, and the people that, for the most part, that do garage doors have no idea how to work on these motors. So in order for us to get Matt here, the way we found him is that we went to the manufacturers in England. They made a recommendation that if you're going to have these doors and they work, this is the guy to do it. They actually came in from England. They checked all the doors out. They made the recommendation with Matt, and he has made a world of difference in the way these doors operate. Okay. So much so that he's putting in the motors at a new property that Beechwood is building exactly like this.
And those motors you're referring to as far as the lifts are concerned?
No, I'm talking garage doors only.
Garage doors.
Garage doors only.
Okay.
If you take a look at them, you'll see there's no chains and that type of thing that makes noise. They're very quiet, almost silent, the motors themselves. We have, as far as I know, there's nobody complaining about noise from these garages anymore.
Yeah, well, my issue is not about noise, certainly. It's
Well,
about
the length of time that it takes, but we're going to respectfully disagree with you, because I personally get involved in the garage doors. I know when they're done. If he ever says I can't be here in 24 hours, I give him a call and I make sure he's here. So I'm going to have to disagree with you. There's never a time that it takes him 3 days to get here.
Well, I respectfully disagree with you, because in Building 3, just recently, the door broke on a Friday. He could not come here until a Sunday because he was in Connecticut.
That's 1 day. It's not 3 days.
I'm saying that's one instance. I'm not
But I'm
saying...
it broke on Friday. He didn't come Saturday. He came Sunday. I almost guarantee you that most garage door vendors, if you call them on Friday, you're not going to see him till Monday. Right.
I don't know, well, I guess your experience is different than mine. I mean, because there have been garage doors that have been open for 3 and 4 days in this community. Okay. Thank you.
Nobody can hear you.
Hi, I'm Linda Wiltsey. I live in a suite building, and we've had a number of issues with our keypad, and I know a lot of buildings have had the issues, and sometimes it takes weeks and weeks before the keypads get fixed. And I was just wondering what's being done about this, why we aren't stocking parts. Maybe we need whole new keypad systems or something, because these things are breaking down too often, and it creates a problem. Delivery people can't get in the building. People can't get in the building because they don't always carry their key with them. You know, it's a problem. Right now, our keypad is not working, and so they tape the door so that it doesn't lock, which is, you know, great to let people in, but for security reasons, it's not the best thing. So I would just like to bring that issue up.
As far as the keypads go, these are manufactured in Germany. They take a long time to get parts. They don't keep them built permanently. They have to rebuild a full system and send it over. What we've asked them to do now is give us 2 extra intercoms, so we always have an additional 2 on hand in case they do break. And this way, for the future, we will always have the parts that we need to make repairs. We'll never run into an issue again. And they're coming on Thursday to make the repairs in Building 4. Building 7, they're coming the week after to make the repairs in Building 4, and Building 53 as well.
My name is Michael Lester. I live in Building 15. A month or 2 ago, I posted on the Director's Corner a question about having open committee meetings where the various committees let us know in advance that they're having a meeting, and that the meeting be open to all homeowners that want to attend. I understand that the HR committee, their meetings should be confidential, and the part of the budget committee that deals with payroll, that too should be confidential, but every other committee should have open meetings where we could all attend. When I posted that question, I got a response that said that the board was going to talk to the committee chairman about my proposal, and then there was silence. So I'd like to ask the board if there was any follow-up.
Well, I did speak to...
But individual committees?
Pardon?
What? Individual committees?
Yes. Yeah. The maintenance committee, the landscape committee, the fitness committee. Why aren't they open to the public?
Nothing wrong with that, and it's up to the individual committees. We charter committees like this, but we don't run those committees. They run themselves. They pick their members, they pick their chairman. And if they want to have an open meeting, they can have an open meeting. That is their call. I have seen nothing wrong with it at all. They're committees. But it's up to the individual committee whether they want to do it or not.
Okay. I tend to disagree with you. I think I thought the committee chair is appointed by the president of the HOA board, and I think the president of the HOA board has a good deal of control as to what happens at these committee meetings.
I think, Mike, I think you're right. I think that we as the board should give direction to the committees that there should be open meetings, if not every month, maybe once a quarter. None of these committees really meet every month on a standard basis, I'm trying to think. But yeah, I have no objection to that. So we'll discuss it further, and I think we should start doing that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody else? I'm sorry. Up. Come up.
I'm Madeline McGarrion, and I live in Building 22. I just wanted to say that I've noticed that the door that's next to the garage door in my building has a very flimsy, even when it's locked, it's partially opened all the time. And I'm concerned about the security in this case, because if it's pushed hard enough, that door will open, and anybody could come in at night even, you know? That's a possibility. So I think that somebody should check my building and check their own buildings too. So my building is 22.
Thank you.
Okay?
Not that I think anybody needs a reminder, but the work order system that's in place is actually functioning quite well now in terms of response time. At least you get a confirmation that it was received, and at the end, after repair or whatever it is, you should be getting notice that that was completed. This particular instance, without a work order, I don't know how Bernadette is going to know unless it's just by serendipity, and I don't think anybody wants that. So please use the work orders.
We're going to discuss. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Hi, I'm Meryl Levison. I live in Building 34. This basically is to the fitness committee. Louder? Closer? Okay. This basically is to the fitness committee. There are often times in the gym. Okay. There are often times in the gym that, okay, here we go. There are often times in the gym that there are people that I haven't seen there ever before, that are much younger than most of us here, and are not wearing the guest wristband. Now, people are coming in from the back parking lot, the side on the other side, and they're just availing themselves of the gym. I have often reported that to the front desk, to Bernadette or to Matt, but I think that's cheating the community out of $10 a guest, and with college being over, it seems there's a lot more of that. Mike. I think they heard me, though. To have people taking up machinery in the gym who are not residents, who are not paying the $10 guest fee, is there any way to monitor that?
Every time that someone has reported to me that there is a young person in the gym, I always go in and ask them if they are residents. For the most part, they are residents. And I've confirmed this with our records, and they are residents. And some of them, unfortunately, are younger looking. But I have no problem going in there and questioning them and asking them for their ID, where they live. I go back to the office and make sure that they are actually residents.
Do we have any more questions, comments? Have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you for coming. Hope you learned something. I hope you see how we work. And I'm glad you all showed up. Thanks.
I'll see you Saturday, but I'll talk to you. Friday, Saturday.
Always gonna have a meeting. Always have a meeting. Absolutely. I didn't say we had a meeting. I sent an email saying that
I get that.
No, absolutely. Flyers, no. Staff, no. You can definitely meet. You're not a sanction. You're not a sanction. Disagree with
go. I lost him. Anyway, I'll see you in the